Welcome to Good Grief, the podcast dedicated to demystifying and destigmatizing grief with compassion and humor. I'm Nikki. I'm an end-of-life doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And today we are kicking off Pride Month. I have 4 different interviews this month, in the month of June for Pride Month, with people in the LGBTQIA+ community who will be sharing their personal stories. And I'm very excited for this month. I'm excited for today's episode with Jackie Disch. You'll hear more from her in just a moment. But before we get into that, I wanted to take a quick second to share something from a listener. I had a listener reach out to me who actually heard my interview on End of Life Conversations, which is if you are a listener of the show, I had those 2 amazing folks, Wakil and Ana Luisa, on my show last season. And we did a little swap. I was on their show. Please go check it out. They have a great, we're all talking about the same stuff here, so we have a lot in common. But this person, her name is Sue. So hi, Sue. She heard me on their show, and I wanted to read what she wrote to me. She said, "My father, brother, and best friend, old dog, all died in the last few months, and I've had a lot of family ructions to go with it. And thanks to you, I now know I am not alone." And that meant so much to me. I made sure it was okay for me to read this to you all. And she said that was absolutely okay. But that, Sue, again, thank you so much. That really hit me. I do hear from listeners from time to time, not very often. So sometimes I wonder if this is landing. But when I do hear from somebody who tells me I feel less alone now, I can't tell you how good that makes me feel. That is the entire reason I started this whole podcast, was for people to feel less alone in their grief. Because I know I have been in that place where it's so dark and so lonely, and you feel like you are never going to come out on the other side. And I'm here to tell you, you can, and you may, and hopefully you will, but regardless of where you are not alone. And there is somebody else out there who gets it. So, Sue, I'm glad you feel less alone. And to anybody else listening, I hope that hearing these stories from other people and hearing me talk about grief makes you feel less alone. That's all I need out of this podcast. I always share, I don't make $1 on this show. I don't get ad revenue. I don't get anything like that. So this is my gift to the world. This is my gift to all of you out there who are grieving. I want you to feel less alone. Okay. Whew. So that said, if you do like this show and you do want to try to support me and my work, I do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula. There's a link in the description. And with money I receive from that, it goes to a line item in my budget so I can provide pro bono work to those who may not be able to afford my services. I've given free coaching sessions to people. I have 2 clients I'm working with locally as an end-of-life doula on a limited basis, as much as I possibly can, though, to help them with their end-of-life needs. And yeah, I give back in where I can, either virtually, live, in my community, whatever. And that's all thanks to my patrons. So please check that out, patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula. Okay. And without further ado, I'm going to stop talking because I want to get into today's amazing conversation with Jackie Disch. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in again this week. I am so excited for my guest this week. I have a super, super amazing person on my show. And you guys will figure it out really soon, but I think we have a lot in common and we're going to have some great conversations. So Jackie Disch, and it's Disch. I said it right. All right.
Sure.
Jackie, would you take a moment and just introduce yourself to my listeners? Tell us a little bit about you and why you're here today.
Sure. I am a lifelong writer and indie author. I have 2 books of poetry out from in the early 2000s. And then I just published a book about the death of my wife, Katy. In 2011, I was interested in becoming what at that time was referred to as a death midwife, but now it's death doula. And that was back in the beginning before it really gained traction. So me, Katy, and uh, her cousin, who was a friend of both of us, we were going to start a business, for lack of a better word, um, doing death doula type work. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We did end up with all the training and things like that. So um, I'm very familiar with death and dying and end of life issues.
Hmm. Yeah. See, and now my listeners know why I wanted to have you on because it sounds like we're very passionate about the same things. So, you had mentioned your wife and you assisted her through her end of life. Is that correct?
I did, yes.
So
She,
tell us a little bit about that as somebody who has the training, because I get asked this a lot, like, oh, would you ever be a doula for somebody you know? And that's a big question. So I'm curious, how was
mhm,
that, knowing what you know, but also accompanying somebody you love so much through this process?
yes, it was, you know, on the one hand, you don't want to ever have to do that. Excuse me.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'm very grateful that I did have the training that I had the knowledge that I had. We actually both did. Um, so in July of 2020, Katie died. We were together for 23 years and legally married for 6 of those. Um, and what happened was Katie had a stroke on the 3rd of June, and she pretty much recovered from that. We didn't know what it was at that time. She did have an MRI later. But before we could get the results of the MRI, she had a second stroke, which
Oh,
affected her ability to speak.
oh my gosh.
And then she was a licensed psychologist. She had a private practice for about 25 years. Um, and she was still working. She hadn't retired. So she had 2 strokes 10 days apart, and then a month from the day that she had her first stroke was when she died. So it was a
Wow.
very compact
Yeah.
time frame, very intense in terms of dealing with everything that was coming at both of us. It was during COVID, and
Oh yeah.
it, yeah, it was
Oh,
COVID in at least in Minnesota where I am. COVID was just starting to open up a little bit where you could, you know, have family gatherings outside of people less than 20 people or something like that.
yeah.
But medical settings were completely shut down in terms of letting loved ones in to be with or to see the person who is in a hospital, whatever
Yeah.
kind of medical setting they're in.
Hmm.
So Katie did not want that. She had the experience when I had to drop her off outside the hospital to get the
Oh,
MRI.
oh
I
my
know
God.
it
Oh, my
was,
heart's breaking already. Sorry. Oh my goodness.
uh, I was right there, right there
Yeah.
with you.
You
Um,
live this. I'm just hearing it. Oh my goodness.
so I had to sit in the car while she was escorted from the entrance to the place inside with the MRI and then escorted back. And this was before she had her second stroke. So she was still able to talk and verbalize everything. And she said that it was terrifying. They had huge blocks of the hospital, I mean, huge parts of the hospital blocked off.
Yeah.
So nobody else was around. And she said it was just horrible.
Oh,
Um, so she had her MRI on a Friday, and then the next, so late Saturday evening into Sunday is when she had her second stroke. Um, after she had the second stroke, I asked her if she wanted to go to the ER, and she was like, "No, I don't want to be dropped off and then have you just drive away." And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
"Well, I wouldn't do that." But on the other hand, you know, that was how it was. You couldn't go in. So after her second stroke, like I said, she lost the ability to speak. She could still talk, but um, like she would start a sentence out right, and then it would just end in words that made no sense.
yeah.
Um, and I would call that, instead of calling it word salad, which I really don't like that term, it's really
Yeah.
disrespectful to me.
I agree. I agree.
Um, I termed it Katy speak. Uh, so we were able to, because of how connected we were, it was like we were in this little bubble, and it took a lot of energy. It was very exhausting for both of us, but particularly Katy. Um, any kind of communication she tried to do just wore her out.
Yeah.
But anyway, we learned to understand. Um, I learned to understand what she was saying or wanting. It might not have been word for word, but I got the general idea.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we eventually we brought hospice in, and we were in home hospice because, again, if she had to go into a hospice setting, I wouldn't be able to be with her.
right.
And that was very important to her
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, especially when she's vulnerable and not able to communicate her own
Yes.
wants and needs. And
Oh,
that just was not a good feeling at
hmm.
all.
Yeah. I heard from so many people who lost loved ones during COVID, um, in similar circumstances, either in emergency or even just, advanced age or from COVID. And they were in assisted living or in hospitals, and their family they weren't there during the event. And the worst, somebody I know personally lost grandparent, also their grandparent had Alzheimer's and developed
Mm.
COVID and was in the
Oh,
facility
goodness.
and died there. But I couldn't see anybody they knew, couldn't have any other support system, and died terrified, not knowing like where they are, what was going on, and why nobody would talk to them or why nobody was
Right.
there. It was I can't like this just absolutely shatters my heart. So I'm grateful, and I'm sure you are too, that you had the opportunity to be at home so that you two could
Yeah,
be together.
definitely. And it
S-
was also before they started with the idea of letting you use an iPad or something to see
Right,
each other.
right.
That wasn't in place yet either.
Yeah. Yeah. So, given that you both had training and background with death doula work, I'm really curious, were you able to use some of that then? And what was her experience like? Were you able to have like a nice, beautiful setup? Was everything done the way that she and you wanted it to be?
Yes, that's where I'm very glad that I did have that experience and training because I knew how to do what she was wanting. She also had it in her healthcare directive um, that should she, because strokes and heart issues were a family thing,
Hmm.
so she knows it was very possible that that would happen to her. So
Hmm.
she had it in her healthcare directive that if this happened, I don't want treatment. And so it was, and part of it was the COVID piece. I think if COVID hadn't been happening, she may have done the next step of going to a doctor and seeing, exactly what was going on, how recovery would be. But I still think she would make the same choice,
Yeah.
especially since talking was how she connected to people.
Yeah.
It was her job. It was how she connected to life. And in the end, it was a quality of life
Hmm.
issue and decision.
Yeah.
So she did want me and the cousin who had trained with both of us involved in her end of life uh, setup. She also wanted uh, my one of my brothers, who the three of us had become good friends over the years. So in the house itself, it was just me and my brother, and
Okay.
then the cousin would come over,
Yeah.
and we would do. The first thing that I made sure of was to set up sacred space,
Mm-hmm.
just a safe, quiet space, because that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
If she wanted to have party music going, then we would have done that too. I did play some music, especially after she was no longer conscious. That's when it really kicked into tending to her and making sure she was safe
Mm.
and comfortable. And there was some music that I played occasionally. So, in that sense, I'm very grateful to have that experience and knowledge.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't wouldn't want to have had to use it
Yeah.
in in that. Um, so yeah, it was a very, if you've heard the term good death, it was a
Yeah.
good death. Um,
Good.
she she died on her own terms, and we had both heard on the TV, through the news before her second stroke about people who were choosing not to go have treatment because they wanted to be with their families.
Yeah.
So during this time frame, it wasn't anything new
Yeah.
or different that people were doing. COVID kind of imposed that on all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
It did.
and we were very fortunate to have a good hospice team.
Good.
The main nurse who came for Katy, we just hit it off. Um,
Yeah.
and she understood, got a great sense of what Katy was like and what she was wanting.
Oh,
And so it was all, if that had to happen, you couldn't have asked for a better way for it to happen.
good. When I hear that, at least out of all of this, like there was so much bad in this. Like this happened during COVID and all the lockdown and everything, but the fact that you still got to have, she got to have a good death and you got to be part of this is that makes me so happy. So I'm glad you mentioned her health directives because that is my hill to die on is, oh my God, fill out your damn paperwork. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming
Exactly.
you feel right the same way, yeah?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's
It,
People aren't comfortable with death and
mm-mm.
talking about it or thinking about it, or even after somebody dies, they kind of don't really know what to do or say. But just do your will. And if you don't want to do your will, at least do your health work,
Thank you.
especially in situations where it's not a heterosexual marriage,
Hmm.
or if you're disconnected from your family of origin for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because of that, and also if you're gay or lesbian or part of that community,
Yeah.
it's definitely gotten better
Hmm.
than it was when I was coming of age. Lots of horror stories about
Oh
that
yeah.
time. Um, but it's just one more piece. It's that legal piece that you have
Yeah.
that says, yes, this is who I want to have
Yeah.
making my decisions.
Yeah.
This is who I want to have with me
Hmm.
during this time, if you're thinking of it in that way. Uh,
Yeah.
but as specific, that be as specific as you can be. Try to think of
Yeah.
what kind of death do you want to have?
Yeah.
Do you want party music? Do you want quiet? Do you want the windows open so you can hear birds?
Hmm.
Whatever. And who do you want to have with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I could not agree more. I started doing death planning workshops and I touched briefly on the legal paperwork, but the meat of it is those type of things. Like we all say, I hear so many people say, well, I don't want to be a burden, whatever it is, I don't want to be a burden to my family. I'm like, well, them having to make decisions while emotionally, in an emotionally charged environment or while they're upset is like the biggest burden, not the biggest, but that's a burden.
Right.
So
It,
even if it's little
it,
things like music, right? And how they like to be touched and talked to. Like you were
right.
just saying, you didn't want to use the word salad, so you came up with, Katy speak, which is beautiful. Like those little things are things that other family members or other people around might not really know. Or if there's something you've just never shared that is a big
Mhm.
important thing to you. Like it's so important to get that in writing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there should be classes in high school about death and dying. There should be classes in the general education of a college degree.
Hmm.
I just think we really need to educate ourselves
Yeah.
about how death can be versus how we end up contributing to how difficult it can be.
Yeah.
A
I
lot of
totally agree.
times it doesn't have to be as difficult as it is.
Yeah. We're so adverse to even talking about death and dying as a culture that even going that far, like I totally agree. We need to be teaching people, if nothing else, understanding the legal documentation. I tell anybody, if you are over the age of 18, there's no reason why you should not have a living will in place.
Mhm.
And the people who are 18 are the people who aren't going to want to do that because they're like, I'm only
Right.
18. I'm like, and those are the people that get in a motorcycle accident or, something an accident, because at that age, the statistics are more likely you'll die of an accident versus,
Right.
an illness. So those are
Mhm.
the ones where you could be in a vegetative state. And like you want to make those wishes known. As soon as you're old enough to make your own decisions, you need to have that. So hill to
Right.
die on here. But step one, we need to all acknowledge that death is a thing and we're all going to die one day. We
Right.
don't.
It's not going to change.
We don't. Um, so I had a question and it totally just lost my brain. It'll come back, but I'll think of something else in the meantime.
Okay.
Um, Having been through this process with somebody so close to you, has it changed how you view your own death or how maybe you have planned your own death? Like, did you have something you're like, I think I would like this, and now that you've been through it with somebody so close to you, you're like, wait a minute, maybe this.
Yes. Katie's death changed me in many ways. I have had a lot of experience with death. Way too many people in my life have died, whether they were friends or former friends or acquaintances that I knew of. Um, our parents, both Katie and mine, um, they had all died. And and along with my educational experience, you would think that I would be kind of fortified for dealing with Katie's death. And
Hmm.
it completely blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
It was life changing for me.
Hmm.
But it also, and it took me a while, I felt it before I realized it. Um, it also got me in touch with a strength that was probably there, but I didn't know that I had. Because I was like a mama bear with Katie. It was like I was holding the space for her
Yeah.
and giving her what she wanted and what she needed and putting her needs above what I would want. In a perfect world, no, I don't want you to die.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have had the strokes. I don't want to have to do all of this. But it was important to me to honor
Yeah.
her desires and their wishes. And you may come in, they may come in direct conflict with what you want, but
Yeah.
it's very, very important to tune in to what they were wanting.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely. And
may have lost the thread of her, went off on a tangent there.
no, that's okay because as you were talking about that, I was just thinking about, going through the process when you know the things and all of that. And I lost my mother very recently. And I was with her when she died, and it was unexpected. She had an aneurysm, and my dad and I were present, and everybody afterwards was like, "Oh, not necessarily saying I bet it was easy for you, but like at least you have all the knowledge you do." I'm like, that went out the window.
Yeah,
It was gone. I was not there as a death doula. I was there as a daughter who just lost her mom. Like
right,
everything people were saying were like things I've heard a million times, but it did not land because I was not there as a death doula. I was there as a scared girl losing her mommy. It was like,
right,
no, it
right.
was, but after the fact, I understanding a lot about grief, like and death and dying. It's definitely eased the grieving process a little bit and the practical help
Mhm.
because, God bless my dad. He's a doer. He's like, he's got to be doing something all the time. And like, we came home and he's like, I don't even know what to do with myself right now. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, right now,
Mhm.
let's just go to bed because we've been up all night. And he's like, I got to start making phone calls. So I'm like, all right, well, here's the things we can start doing now if you really want to do something. So, it was helpful. But, well, the question I had asked, and it's coming back now, was how this may have changed your thoughts on your own death, either your plans or how you're viewing your own end of life experience.
Yes, through this experience, have been able to really flush out what I'm wanting, more specifically, because it was all kind of generic or whatever.
Hmm.
I do have my healthcare directive. It does, and it does state what I want, what I
Good.
don't want. Um, and it's also, I've never been afraid of death or dying, but her death also kind of gave me a comfort of knowing how I might feel when I'm dying,
Good.
having been able to see it through her and with her,
Yeah.
it gives me a sense of, oh, okay, I can do
Yeah.
that. I can do it. Hopefully it'll happen this way. If it doesn't, then I have these other things in place, and,
You're right.
you know,
Yeah.
because we never know what's going to happen or how things are going to happen.
Yeah.
So it has helped me to get more detailed in
Yeah.
my writings of what I'm leaving behind, of what, and I've the hardest thing for me because all of my, I come from a family of, I have six siblings,
Oh my goodness. Ooh,
and they're
big
all
family.
older than me.
Oh, you're the
um,
baby. Me too.
yeah, yeah. My oldest brother is about 14 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
My next sibling is my sister, and she's 5.5 years older than me. So all my life, I've kind of related to older people more than I have people my own age.
Hmm.
So with Katy gone, and the other person who we did uh, death doula training with is not in a position to help me should I need it.
Hmm.
I'm like, who do I who do I pick now to
Yeah.
be my healthcare person? Who do I pick to
Yeah.
be the executor of my will?
Yeah.
And so it really made me have to think,
Hmm.
and also made me realize I have to get some younger friends or something because and I ain't gonna
You and me
work out
both.
here.
You
Um,
and me both.
so yeah. So even in those kinds of details, it's
Yeah.
really had it shifted what I was wanting and what I needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are valid. I hear from people all the time who either don't have family, they're estranged from their family, or for whatever reason just don't have anybody super close to them, and they're like, "What do I do?" So that's, one thing I help people figure out as a death doula is, all right, what can we do, and help them get those decisions together. So before we wrap up, though, since my show is, I do like to talk about grief. How has the grief process been since then? Because it seems like everything was rather sudden. You went through the process, and now she's gone, and it's 6 years later. Like, what was your grief journey like coming up to today?
Well, the first 2 years, I knew that I wasn't going to work. At the time of Kitty's death, I had been working on getting my own business going. And then COVID came and then Katy died. And so that's the other kind of, mm, I hate to use the word good, but the positive thing that came out of COVID was that I had the time and the space to really grieve,
Yeah,
just have my feelings to go
yeah,
deeper than I've ever gone before.
yeah.
Um, and so those first 2 years, I didn't have a lot of contact outside of, maybe texting or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, if I needed to lay on the bed and sob, which I did quite frequently,
yeah.
that's what I did. There were days that in the beginning, I needed like 3 naps just to get through the day.
Oh,
I,
yep.
I could be up for like 2 hours and then I would be completely exhausted.
Grief
And
just
I'd have
wipes
to,
you out.
uh, and unfortunately, we thought we had set it all up so nothing would have to go through probate.
Ugh,
But there was this job she had, and Katy had no idea that how they match your funding or whatever for is it an IRA or whatever
yeah, 401k or something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, we had never gotten any paperwork or anything, and it had been at least 25 years since she had worked at
Oh,
that place.
wow.
Well, it turns out she had this 401k that we didn't know about. And so that piece threw it all into probate because she
Oh,
hadn't made a beneficiary out of
right.
because she didn't even know.
Oh my
Apparently, she
God.
didn't know she had it.
Yeah.
So uh, probate took up a lot of time and energy. That was like a year and a half before that got settled.
Yeah.
Um, so those are parts of grief that you don't really think about when you think of grief.
Hmm.
Is after you're done with the funeral and making the calls and doing all of that, then you have this legal piece you have to do. And
Yep.
that just, yeah. So for me, grieving in the beginning was very intense. And I, I think it was around the beginning of the second year, I decided, okay, I'm going to be a little more social now. I'm going to go out and have coffee with someone, have lunch with someone. And that was just so overwhelming. I felt completely out of sync
Yeah.
with how to relate to somebody
Yeah.
because I was still in such, it's shock too. It's
Yeah.
a state of shock that
Yeah.
lasts. And I think around the third year is when that shock started fading. So,
Yeah.
I had described it before as that was a time when I kind of woke up from it all and kind of came back myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in thinking about it, I think it was more shock.
Yeah.
I was finally out of the shock phase.
Yeah. Oof.
Um, but my main thing about grief is I, I intentionally use living grief in the title of my book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I believe that's what we do.
Yeah.
We live grief. We don't get through it. It's not something to conquer. It's not something to get over. It's,
Mm-hmm.
just set it aside and get on with your life. Um, I think to truly honor your grief and accept your grief
Mm-hmm.
is how you best bring it into the world as you continue on.
Yeah. Oh, couldn't have said it better myself. It's like I'm talking to another death doula.
I may
So
have to take that up.
before we get to the death deck, which I know you know is coming because you listen to my podcast, um, I tell us a little bit about your book then.
Yes, like I said, I'm a lifelong writer and I write process. I, you know, put my feelings down and whatever is going on, I write about that. So I rented a one-room cabin on the shore of Lake Superior,
Oh, I love
where
Lake
I live now.
Superior. It's beautiful
And
up there.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. And I did a self-imposed 10-day writing retreat where I organized all of the writings that I had done during those 3 years. So
Hmm.
the book is from just before, during, and after to the 30-year anniversary of Katy's death. And it's a genre bending memoir. It's not your typical 70,000 word book.
Hmm.
It's a selection of writings that I did. Some are 2 sentences long, some are 3 pages long. A lot of them are just a page long.
Hmm.
And I think subconsciously, before it came into my conscious realization, I was doing that because I know people who are grieving don't have the attention span
Hmm.
to read a chapter
Yeah.
of a nice thick book.
Yeah.
Um, so it's someone else kind of summed up it. The book was in honor of Katy, first and foremost, even though it's a memoir. It's as much about her as it is me in the grief. It's that a vehicle for my grief, and I tell how some of the situations that happened throughout the time of Katy
Hmm.
uh, dying or being in the aftermath of strokes, and then also for other people, for their to help with their grief. That's always been
Yeah.
one main goal of my all of my writings is to hopefully have it be of help in some way to somebody else.
Mm.
Um, and then actually, I guess there's a fourth thing to teach about living grief,
Yeah.
and that grief isn't linear.
Yes.
You can feel this way early
Hmm.
on, and then 2 years later you have a similar experience. Doesn't
Hmm.
mean you've gone backwards or anything. It just means
Yeah.
that's how grief is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, couldn't have
So
said it better myself.
that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for sharing. All right. So we are getting close to the end here. So you know I'm going to pull a
Okay,
card from the death deck here. We're going to see what we get.
okay.
I'll let you answer it and then I'll answer it. I always try to pull from the middle.
Help me, Katy.
Oh no, you're not going to believe it. I swear you saw me pull this. It was totally random. Um, Ooh, your spouse has just died. Ah, what do you do about money? A, not worry, I make plenty to maintain my current household. B, pat myself on the back for taking out life insurance policies. Or C, freak out, move in with the family, and start playing the lottery. That's
A
kind of a
little bit
dumb
of all
question,
three.
but What'd you say?
A little bit of all three.
I mean, same to be honest. Well, I can tell you, I don't make enough to maintain the household on my own if my
Yeah,
husband
no,
dies.
no.
Um, I know he has life insurance through work, but that's only if he dies at work.
Oh, only at work.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So if he dies
That's
somewhere
that's
else,
not good.
I know we need to talk about that. Anyway, so I don't think I would freak out and move back in with my family. So
No,
I don't know.
no, definitely not that.
I
No.
would I would figure it out, I guess.
Yeah. That, yeah, it just yeah, that's another thing you have to deal with is
Yeah.
just practical things.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Jackie, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for coming on my show. You've got the floor for another couple moments here. Please tell my listeners where they can find you, where they can get your book, and anything else you would like to share.
Well, I'm happy that I was able to come onto your show. By the way, I love your glasses too.
Thank
The
you.
tie-dyed look. Um, so the the main I'm not big on social media. The main thing, my main point of contact is my website. I don't know if you have that or if you want
I do. I'll put it in the show
to.
notes.
Um, and on the homepage, you'll find a list of links of the places that my book is sold. It's available in ebook and print. There's lots of choices that you have where to
Yeah.
buy it. And it's for people who are grieving, but also grieving, not grieving. But also, if you want to know more about the grief experience, it's very personal. All of my writings are personal. Um, and it's raw and it's in the moment.
Mhm.
Um, so anyone who knows somebody who lost a loved one may want to either read it for themselves or get it for them. But I think it's very accessible.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. And yeah, I will put links in the description so anybody listening can find that. So again, Jackie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me and my listeners. And I can't wait for everybody to hear it.
Thank you, Nikki.
All right. Another huge thank you to Jackie for coming on the show and bravely sharing her story. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Thank you, Jackie. I really loved our conversation. I will have links to Jackie's book in the description and anything else we talked about. You can also find it on my website, nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast. You can find books by Jackie, and any of my other former guests will be on that page. And anything else in regards to the show. You can get some merch there too if you want, like a t-shirt. I've got journals. So you go over to nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast. I look forward to next week. Again, I've got 3 more people sharing their stories from the LGBTQ plus community for Pride Month. So look forward to that for the remainder of June. If you really enjoyed this episode, quickest, easiest thing you could do that would really help me out if you would just leave a rating and a review for me. If you're on Apple Podcasts, write out a couple sentences too about what you liked about the show, why this landed with you. I do try to read my comments and respond to them if and where I can. But yeah, I would love to have your support. The more people that comment and rate, the more, like, the higher up they push me in the algorithms. I will not pretend how to understand how all those work, but they'll push me up so more people can find my show. And again, as I said at the top, I'm just doing this to help people feel less alone in their grief. I'm not doing this to make millions because I know I won't, and I'm okay with that. So if you want other people to feel a little less alone, please send them my direction or just tell a friend about the show. That'd be great. All right, that's all. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, as always, your grief is yours. Feelings are valid. Grief doesn't always have to suck. Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula is produced by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC in Columbus, Ohio. Nikki the Death Doula LLC is for consulting, education, emotional support, and guidance, and is no way considered a funeral establishment or licensed mental health establishment. Scripts, editing, sound design, literally everything with this podcast is done solely by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC.